Time I do a ELC AMX tank guide, and it's not going to be my own replay because I don't personally own an AMX ELC. But how am I going to make you like a tank guide? Well, I've played this tank a lot, and I mean a lot, but I sold it anyway because I need my crew for my AMX 1390. Then I got it onto the Lorraine 40T, so there was not much point of me playing ELC except that for some maybe fun purposes. But then I played it enough, so I guess you guys have requested to have an ELC AMX tank guide. So I found a replay which I think could highlight to you exactly how do you play this tank. Well, number one rule is that you don't hang around so people can take pot shot at you. You try to be sneaky and go in only when you know that they can't really one-shot you, or when they often are not focusing on you, then you can probably do it. So this tank, I recommend you to have a camo net, and possibly if you have really good crew for your camo rating, then perhaps camo net is not necessary. Then you probably better off put coded optics or binos, but I think coded optics is best, because that also works while you're moving, and you really do need a really good crew because this tank, as you can see, the gun is really horrible in terms of the handling on it. Well, if you think about it, at tier 5 you have a really hard hitting gun, and so in order to balance everything, of course wargaming has to make your gun aim like shit. But as you can see, it does a lot of damage and it has fairly good penetration. So let's have a look at the penetration on the normal round. Is 170. So you could really go through most tanks without too much problem at this tier, except your tier 8 IS3s at the front. Possibly you need to aim for weak spot, but weak tanks like this, for example, you can really hurt them with your tier 5 gun. Remember, this tank is not really the same as any other tier 5. It's a light tank, so it really performs somewhere like a tier 7 should do. And you have a really low amount of health point. And remember, not being spotted or not being hit, not getting hit, is what you need. That is the game winner really for your tank. And I see time and time again where ELC players tend to drive out into the open and get really killed without real reason, really. Stay alive, and you as an ELC, for example, in the last minute of the game, you could really pull off something amazing, like take out the enemy artillery. And the artillery has like a nightmare dealing with ELC due to how small it is. And the ELC really haunts some tanks. For example, the Japanese heavy tanks, you can get on their side and they have absolutely no chance of hitting. Even if you drive in front of them, as long as he doesn't ram you, you should be really safe, because those Japanese tanks has terrible gun depression. And oh, yeah, slam a shot. And then the new game physics really help you with this tank, because now you could actually slide around, and that means you have so much opportunity now to compensate for that lack of gun traverse. Well, if you played this game for a long time, you probably remember that the ELC was able to traverse the turret 360 degrees. That's right, most of you probably watching the video probably never have seen that, but the ELC AMX had a 360 degree rotatable turret, and that was just when it was so OP. But of course they had to nerf it after a few patches. So this ELC really hasn't changed much, and the same trick really works maybe 10 patches ago, and probably even better now, because you can now slide around corners and really not be as much affected as you used to be, because you're I think what was it, 30 degrees on each side. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's somewhere like 30 degrees. As you can see, this tank carries a lot of rounds, and that's just one of the bonuses you have with this light tank in particular. I mean, you don't get much rounds in your tier 6 French tanks and whatsoever, but when you reach tier 9 and tier 10, those French mediums, they carry a hell of a lot of rounds, and the ELC somehow carries so many rounds when the tank is so small. I think this tank was designed to be parachuted down, I think, from aircraft. So as you can see here, you can see the kind of move he pulled off there. He turned 360 degrees, and that really gives such a bonus to the ELC, because now you can pull off moves like that. And when you're getting chased, remember, for example, in the old days when you chased by, like, say, AMX 1375, you probably won't be able to do much when he's behind you and he's gonna clip you. Imagine he's in one shot reach. Well, you can't really do much in that case, because you can't really turn around that quickly. But now, if there's someone's chasing you from behind, you can just use the clutch brake and literally turn 360 degrees and slam shots after shots into them. Here, he's gonna show us how to do this. He's gonna plant a shot right there into the wheel, but he got quite unlucky, I would say. The T28 the T28 heavy tank concept made a horrible mistake there, and here I'd say he's making a bit of a mess out of this situation. In my opinion, he should have aimed that one and hit him in the tracks, but of course sometimes you make mistakes. And also, driving in front of the T28 heavy tank concept was really dangerous back then, but I guess he's lucky that the guy was a pretty bad player, so he got away with it. And that is why I think you should install XVM in your game, so that you would know what kind of players you're facing against. I mean, if that T28 HTC had, let's say, 2000 win 8, then I'm pretty sure he would have played that differently, and also he wouldn't have got out of that situation, most likely. So when facing against ELC, load high explosive, but then sometimes, you know, you get the most fucked up thing that ever happens. Remember, this tank is like 4 tons, 5 tons, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the top of my head I think it's like 4 or 5 tons, and I sometimes fire my BL10 into this tank on the side, right, and it does critical damage, right. The BL10 shell, I swear, should have like ripped this tank in half, and what on earth just happened? Wait, did we just see a bounce there? And you see that our friend here in the ELC AMX is making a bit of a mess out of this situation, but luckily he gets himself around, and with that lucky bounce he had, he is now able to kill this HTC. Hopefully, we'll have a look. This HTC tank is really bad in my opinion. I hate it. I mean, I hate it. I mean, it's still pretty bad situation. He's still not likely to win. Remember, he's a tier 5 light tank, and all of them are higher tier than him. So are we going to see him carry this team? Well, that depends on how well he plays, of course. So we'll see what exactly the kind of moves he's gonna do. Taking out the artillery in this situation is very, very important. I believe that he's doing the right thing. Since they're not capping him yet, it's fairly safe to say that you can take out the artillery first, but be careful if the enemy team is coming back. But that's unlikely, because they were winning quite heavily, so why would they go back to defend? And then now the situation has changed, so they're unlikely to have got back. So those kind of things you gotta analyze and think about it in your head, and you gotta know what you're doing. So here he spots the GW Panda. The GW Panda has no idea that he's spotted, and he's gonna fire one shot into him and pull back. And now he doesn't have to jump on the GW anymore. It's probably time to relocate, move a bit. Yeah, he's now not seeing again, so he's gonna spot the GW Panda hopefully and plant another shot into him in a similar manner, but it doesn't seem like he can see through the bushes. GW Panda makes a mistake where he goes out of cover, so now he's spotted and we know exactly where he is. So, oh, good news we have. That is a good news we have. But also, now we wonder, where is the T26. Where is the T26? Now we know the GW5, so the best choice for you to do now in this situation is to eliminate the enemy artillery since he's fired. You know that splash was from the only artillery alive, so therefore you gotta get this kill on him and make sure it counts. And now deal with the KV-85, but stay in this little underneath this little ridge. And this is a good thing about ELC. ELC is so tiny. I mean, you could just hide behind this tank and pretty much the T26 E4 couldn't actually finish this, couldn't actually find him in this case. And T28 heavy tank concept in chat there, just such a loser. I mean, he got outplayed like a boss, and then he's saying that he's lucky and shit like that, but I still think that it was such a well done situation in those circumstances. Remember, he's under pressure at the time, and the most important of all is that we gotta know that the ELC is not really any tier 5 tank out there. You really gotta play it not as aggressively as you think you would need to, but remember, getting the jump on the enemy, out positioning the enemy, using critical locations, using the bushes is so important, and that is what, you know, kind of gameplay you gotta develop. And I think as an ELC player, the most important thing is not to die in the first minute. Don't try to get yourself killed. The crew loadout, I just recommend you to go for something that suits French light tank. So fire on the move accuracy, smooth ride, those kind of things. Commander, 6th sense obviously, and then all the second perks I would recommend something on like camouflage and repairs, and then the third one probably Brothers in Arms. That is what I would go for personally, but again, for different people there's different playing strategies. And the thing with this tank is that the really good AP penetration, you get such a good chance to wipe them out. If you do get those chances from the side, your AP round will rip through them. And this is why water tanks, you never go AFK, even when your game is almost won. You know, this is so stupid by the super person. He goes AFK and he's cooking now, and we can see here our friend here, he's in this situation. He's got the entire tank now. He can choose where to shoot him. So you shoot him in the engine, that will kill him quickly. You'll let him burn, and this is just it's so fun at this stage when you're about to claim your Top Gun in a tier 8 game, the worst matchmaking you can ever get in your ELC AMX. And he's doing 4,400 damage now. Yep, there you go. And that was GG, so well done. And remember, positions are so important in your AMX ELC, and you gotta make sure that you gotta engage your opponents when they're perhaps a bit more occupied than perhaps a 1v1, and pick on those tanks which cannot really rotate their turret 360 degrees, such as those TDs. And sometimes you gotta track them, and if you track them you can get behind them on their side, keep tracking them and doing damage. And that is the sort of things you gotta repeat to yourself. And that was a really good gameplay, so hopefully you guys playing the lower tiers and playing the light tanks will learn from this guy. I think he's done a great job. There was a few mistakes, but overall it's just really good finish, and we shall see you next time. Enjoy the video.